My first memory was going to Woking Football Club at the age of 8. I lived about 6-7 miles away, but there was a bus that went straight to the ground. It was December, just before Christmas, 1953. My mum and dad said, "Yeah, if you want to go." I thought, "I'll go." Yeah, so we got the bus fare and we went there, and I'll never forget it because the spectacle. Woking playing red and white half shirts, like Blackburn's, but red and white, and that stuck with me as a big thing first. And they won 4-1. I'm so old that there were no replica shirts. My mother, bless her, she tried Woking red and white halves. She thought she'd get a replica. She thought she'd give me a birthday present, a replica Woking shirt. But there was nowhere to go except to Sports Outfitters, and they produced, instead of red and white halves, red and white quarters.
Okay.
And I very rarely bit back at my mum, especially at that age. And I went, I can't wear this. So what I brought in to show you, I made my senior debut when I was still at school for the old boys of the Royal Grammar School, Guildford, the old Guildfordians. And somehow I managed to acquire, from that time, 1963, I think, this was the shirt. And it does look its age, doesn't it? Ron Davis, who played for Wales but started at Chester, born in North Wales, just across the border. But why I liked him is fantastic in the air. He told me that he trained in army boots. So when he took the army boots off and put football boots on, he felt he could jump over the crossbar, really. Sadly, no longer with us, but deserves to be remembered, and certainly in my mind.
In August 1969, he scored 4 times against Manchester United, all 4 headers. Sir Matt Busby said he had no peer in European football. He must have been quite special, particularly in the air.
When Southampton got promoted into the top division for the first time, I think he was joint top scorer in the division, in what would be the Premier League now, joint with George Best. You'll expect me to talk about Sergio Aguero, and I'm really happy. And it should be my favourite goal because there's not a week goes by where I don't get asked about it, and I'm always pleased. It's never a chore to talk about it. I'm just lucky to be there. I've said this so many times, forgive me if you've heard it before, Josh, but when the ball went to Aguero, I knew he'd score. I've said it to Sergio. I didn't really have a conversation with him about this for, I think, 9 years after the event or something like that. I said, I knew you'd score before you knew. The first of the Liverpool 4 Newcastle 3s, there were 2 back-to-back seasons, 1996, when both clubs were going for the league and neither of them won it.
Yes.
And almost as if they blew themselves out on this particular evening. It was a midweek game at Anfield. Robbie Fowler scored 2 and Stan Collymore scored 2. It was the game, I think people remember the game most of all for Kevin Keegan, who was the Newcastle manager, slumping over the advertising hoardings when the winning goal went in, Collymore closing in. We went to the 2014 World Cup opening game and we went up in the lift together. There aren't many lifts in stadium. Actually, we've one thing that keeps you fit is climbing the stairs to the gantries. Anyway, we got up in the lift door opened and facing us, we're getting out, and getting into the lift was Tino Asprilla. And he looked at Collymore and he went, "You cost me my Premier League winners' medal." I believe it's the day I did my first commentary. 1958, Woking got to Wembley in the Amateur Cup. It'd be the FA Trophy now. So I used to go with a mate and his dad. And so we were at Wembley, April the 12th, 1958. It was the captain, a guy called Charlie Mortimer. It was his 30th birthday. And he celebrated by holding up the cup at Wembley. I found COVID very hard. I'm saying this about COVID, and people will say, well, you had a good time. You were allowed to go to games. And I was. But it wasn't normal at all. It just felt so, I don't know, nobody knew what the right thing was to do. And now there've been inquiries about it and what should have happened, what shouldn't have happened. But it was a horrible time for everybody.